What's up, Grace Report? I know it's been a minute, but I'm finally back. Well, kind of. Stay tuned after this. If you guys have been following me for some time, you know I took some time off. I have been saying that I was going to have this big birthday celebration to celebrate you guys for following me. Not only celebrate myself, but also celebrate you guys because for your support, your love, throughout this YouTube journey that I've been on. But as we all know, SoCal last week was hit with devastating fires. Whole neighborhoods have been destroyed. I do feel for these people that have lost their homes. Some of them don't even know if their pet has made it through the fire, because a lot of these people weren't home when the fire hit. So I do not feel like celebrating at this moment. I do feel for those people. I mean, trying to think positive. Luckily for me, I am not anywhere near the fires, but I do feel for the people that were in those areas that have lost their homes. And I've been thinking about it. I'm thinking these people are lucky to be alive. And I do know there were some people that did not make it, but to celebrate during a time like this, I am not in the mood. I will let you guys know um when that will happen, so stay tuned for that. Keep an eye on my socials. If you're new here, welcome. If you like all things spooky, strange and unusual, UFO, aliens with a little true crime trickle in, please click that notification bell, smash that like button, and hey, subscribe if you like what you're seeing. So, the age old question, I don't know if you guys have always thought this, but I've always thought this. I'm a huge martial artist fan. Um, some of my favorite martial artists are Scott Atkins and Michael J. White. They always talk about Bruce Lee as being their inspiration. I know a lot of people have spoke about Bruce Lee. In fact, my dad even had a book of his martial arts technique, which I have in my closet. Um, but how did he die? If you guys are familiar with Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, which was released in 1993, I remember watching that movie. I love that movie. It was wonderfully made. Um, but it had said that he passed away because there was a family curse. And at the time in 93, I was in high school or so. So I know I am aging myself, but oh well. And I believe in that. I believe that people could be cursed. I really do. I believe in that. I think that could happen. I think there could be a family curse. So I always assumed that it was a family curse because, as we all know, Brandon Lee also passed away at a very young age on while filming The Crow. Tragically, he passed away from an accident, but I had always automatically, oh my god, it's a curse. It's definitely the family curse. But what did he really die of? So I found this article, The Real Story, and of course, How Did Bruce Lee Die? The Truth About the Legend's Demise. On July 20th, 1973, actor and martial arts legend Bruce Lee died in the Kowloon Tong district of Hong Kong at the age of 32 due to a brain swelling known as a cerebral edema. He was young, 32 years old. You have a lot of life left to you. I feel like people passing away at 50 has a lot of life left to you. It makes you appreciate life the older that you get because life is not guaranteed. You could t- today could be your last day. I am grateful for my health. I am grateful for making it another day, and and I feel for these people passing away at very young age. In fact, I lost my mom at 50 to cancer. So, I'm very grateful for my health. I'm very grateful to wake up in the morning every day. Few martial artists reach the same heights as Bruce Lee, a renowned fighter, TV and film star, artist, and poet. Lee was at the forefront of the San Francisco martial arts scene in the 1960s before becoming an international superstar in the early 70s. He has widely been credited with helping to bring martial arts to the West. Lee was also the founder of his own hybrid martial arts philosophy known as Jeet Kune Do, which featured prominently in the 5 feature-length martial arts films he starred in. Having risen to such great heights at such a young age, many expected Lee to have a long and fruitful career. Fate, however, had a different plan, and Bruce Lee died suddenly in Hong Kong at the age of just 32 on July 20th of 1973. By that time, Lee was a worldwide sensation. He was developing a variety of projects. In fact, he was working on several during the summer, including the post production of his film Enter the Dragon. He and his wife, Linda Emery Lee, had been married for 8 years and had 2 children, 8-year-old Brandon and 4-year-old Shannon. I do feel for his children. Losing any parent that young, especially if you're 4 years old, you don't understand like what's going on. I mean, 8-year old, you kinda do, but you kinda don't, but losing a parent that young, I feel for them. So, despite his fitness and young age, however, Lee had suffered from headaches. Perhaps it was stress from spreading himself so thin, or perhaps it was something else. In any case, he decided to treat his headaches with the now discontinued pain reliever Equagesic and lay down for a nap on the evening of July 20th. Only Lee never woke up. By the time he arrived at the hospital, Bruce Lee was dead. Initially, doctors determined his cause of death had been a cerebral edema, brain swelling, potentially brought on by hypersensitivity to the medication. More recent studies have suggested heat stroke or drinking an excessive amount of water may have been the cause. Drinking an excessive amount of water? Hmm. However, for others, Bruce Lee's death could not be so easily explained. Numerous conspiracy theories surfaced in the wake of his passing, some of which have survived to this day. This is the full story of how Bruce Lee died and what caused it, how Bruce Lee helped bring martial arts to the West and become a star. So here's pictured Bruce Lee as a baby with his parents, Grace Ho and Lee Hoi Chun. Bruce Lee was born in Lee Junfan on November 27, 1940, in San Francisco's Chinatown during both the Hour and Year of the Dragon, a detail often highlighted in discussion about his life. His father, Lee Ho Chun, was a Hong Kong opera singer and part time actor, and his mother, Grace Ho, came from a prominent Eurasian family. Shortly after his birth, the family returned to Hong Kong, where Lee spent his formative years. So, what year? Um, I was born in the year of the snake, which is coming up this year in 2025. What year were you born in? Well, not the actual number, but the with the Chinese zodiac, I guess is how you can say it. What year uh were you born? Comment below. I'm so excited because I always follow Chinese New Year, but I've never really had the year of the snake since I started following. So I've always been like, oh, the year of the tiger, year of the ox, and I'm like, when's the year of the snakes coming around? So this year is my year, except I found out there's different types of snakes. I guess this year is the wooden snake. I am a fire snake, but all in all, still cool. Immersed in the entertainment industry from a young age due to his father's profession, Lee appeared in numerous films as a child actor, frequently portraying juvenile delinquents or street urchins. Despite this early exposure to cinema, his teenage years were marked by street fights and involvement with local gangs. Seeking to defend himself and channel his energy positively, he began studying Wing Chun Kung Fu under the tutelage of Master Yip Man at the age of 13. If you're not familiar with this type of martial arts, all you really have to basically if you've ever heard of Ip Man starring Donnie Yin, it does show this type of martial art in it. In 1959, after a series of street fights and concerns about his safety, Lee's parents decided to send him to the United States. He initially lived in San Francisco and later moved to Seattle, where he completed his high school education at Edison Technical School and subsequently enrolled at the University of Washington, majoring in philosophy. During this period, Lee also began teaching martial arts, blending traditional techniques with his own philosophies, which laid the foundations for his later development of Jeet Kune Do. Lee's charisma and martial arts prowess eventually caught the attention of Hollywood, leading to his role as Kato in the television series The Green Hornet. What I remember of Bruce Lee growing up, and I think most of you know this growing up, watching the old kung fu movies, is when the one thing I didn't mind watching them, but the only thing that always threw me off was like the dubbing. You would hear them speak in English, and a lot of times the voices didn't match the person. It kind of did. I mean, it kind of did. I mean, as a kid, you're not paying attention to that. The older I got, obviously, I was like, that voice is not his voice. But when they're talking, they'll be like, look, what's over there? And then their mouth would be still moving because they're speaking a different language. And that would always, like, even now, even when I watch that, like, kind of drives me nuts. So when I do watch a movie in another language, I rather hear them speak their language and read the subtitles. Um that's me. I don't know about you guys, but that's just how I like watching the movies. Although the show was short lived, it introduced Lee to American audiences and audience overseas. Frustrated by limited opportunities in Hollywood and stereotypical roles offered to Asian actors, Lee returned to Hong Kong in the early 70s. Unbeknownst to him, the Green Hornet had become a hit there, known as the Kato Show, which significantly boosted his popularity. Capitalizing on the newfound fame, Lee starred in a series of martial arts films that achieved international acclaim. His breakout role came with The Big Boss, 1971, followed by The Fist of Fury, 1972, The Way of the Dragon, 1972, which he wrote, directed, and starred in. These films showcased his martial arts philosophy and cinematic vision, propelling him to global stardom. His final completed film, Enter the Dragon, was the first joint venture between Hong Kong and Hollywood studios, solidifying his status as a cultural icon. Unfortunately, Lee's career came to a sudden and tragic end just as he was at the height of his popularity in July of 1973. So, what happened the day of Bruce Lee's death? The story of what killed Bruce Lee started 2 months earlier when he collapsed on May 10th of 1973 during an automated dialogue replacement and ADR session for his movie Enter the Dragon. He was rushed to the hospital where he complained of severe headaches and was racked by seizures. Doctors recognized the symptoms of cerebral edema, a condition in which excess fluid in the brain caused swelling and pain, and were able to treat him immediately with mannitol. After a brief hospital stay, he felt much better. This wasn't, he told his friends, how Bruce Lee would die. On his release, he promptly resumed his usual fitness regimen and continued eating his usual diet, a strictly enforced combination of vegetables, rice, fish, and milk that excluded all baked goods, refined flour, and most refined sugar. Until July 20th, he seemed to be recovering extremely well from his cerebral edema, and aside from complaining of an occasional headache, gave his friends no reason to worry. The day of Bruce Lee's death was a busy one. He was in Hong Kong, where many of his movies were made, and had been meeting with producer Raymond Chow for most of the day discussing his upcoming movie. He was reportedly filled with enthusiasm, acting out scenes after scene with energy despite the scorching summer heat. After the meeting, Bruce went to the apartment of a friend, or as some would later clarify, his mistress, Taiwanese actress Betty Ting Pei. They were alone for several hours, then made dinner plans with Lee's producer to finalize his movie deals. Around 7:30 in the evening, shortly before they were due to depart, Lee complained of a headache. Ting Pei gave Lee an Equagesic, a common painkiller containing aspirin and tranquilizer known as Mepro Meprobate or Mep I apologize, guys. I'm going to butcher this. Meprobamate. After taking it, he went to lie down. After a few hours, when Lee didn't come down for dinner, Ting Pei went up to check on him and found him unresponsive. She called Chow back to the home and he attempted to wake Lee without success. They were forced to call a doctor who spent 10 more minutes attempting to revive Lee. Unable to recall the martial artist to consciousness, they sent him to a nearby hospital in an ambulance. By the time the ambulance arrived at the hospital, Bruce Lee was dead. A shocked world wonders, how did Bruce Lee died? And like I said earlier, I always thought, because of the movie Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, I always thought it was a curse. And the fact that his son also died at a young age, I was like, it was plausible to me. It was plausible. Um, and I do believe in that stuff. I do, like I said earlier, I do believe in curses. I do believe that that stuff can happen, and I do believe that we have a life's purpose, and once we reach that purpose, that's when our life ends, and that's why maybe some people die young and some people don't. Because Lee's body showed no external sign of injury, an autopsy was performed, revealing that Bruce Lee's death was the result of severe brain swelling. A buildup of fluid had resulted in a 13% increase in brain size. Wow. Chow claimed that Bruce Lee's death was the result of an allergic reaction to the painkiller he had been given, and the autopsy report seemed to partially substantiate his claim. The coroner officially ruled Bruce Lee's death the result of a second cerebral edema brought on by taking the Equagesic. He called Lee's end death by misadventure, which, unlike death by accident, implies that death occurred due to a dangerous voluntary risk, though Equagesic was not generally considered dangerous to take. Though several subsequent investigations backed up the coroner's report about what Bruce Lee died of, that didn't stop a flood of conspiracy theories. As with other Hollywood stars who've also died of drug complications at a young age, including Elvis Presley, Marilyn Monroe, it seemed to the public that the coroner's report just wasn't good enough. Conspiracy theories about how Bruce Lee died. Bruce Lee's friend Chuck Norris claimed in 1975 that there had been an interaction with muscle relaxants that Lee was taking, and that was how Bruce Lee died. Norris's words sparked a debate about what else Lee was taking: stimulants to keep him in shape, herbal supplements to keep him healthy. There was also a rumor that Bruce Lee's death was caused by a prostitute with whom he had gotten violent. Okay, I've never heard of this one. The rumor claimed that Lee was under the influence of a powerful aphrodisiac that caused him to lose control. The prostitute then killed him in self-defense. All right. I feel like that one's a little over the top. Some fans of Lee who had heard that the fatal dose of Equagesic was administered by Betty Ting Pei claimed that she had poisoned him on purpose and that she had been working for a secret society that wanted Bruce Lee dead. No immediate answers as to why a secret society would want Bruce Lee dead presented themselves. I feel like I always find these conspiracy theories interesting because I feel like people just have too much time on their hands, um or a big imagination. I mean, I work a 9 to 5. I don't have time to think of these things. But they do make for interesting reading. Other theories blame everyone from the mafia, Italian, Chinese, and American, to the fans to even his family. But the theory that continues to hold the most sway among Lee's admirers is the story of the Lee family curse, which is what I totally believed it was. Understanding Bruce Lee's death and why some fans have spooky theories. The legend of the Lee family curse came to light 20 years after the famous martial artist's death, when Bruce Lee's only son, Brandon Lee, was following in his father's footsteps as both an actor and martial artist. In 1992, Brandon Lee was a star on the rise. The 28-year-old had just landed the biggest role of his career. He was playing Eric Draven in The Crow, a comic book turned movie about a murder rock musician who returned from the dead to avenge his and his fiancee murder in the dark Gotham-esque landscape. This movie is definitely a cult favorite. Unfortunately, they did just come out with a remake or reimagining, I don't know, that starred Bill Skarsgård. If you've been following me for some time, I always refer to Hot Topic Joker. So I call the new Eric Draven with Bill Skarsgård, the Hot Topic Eric Draven. I did not see that movie, so I can't say if it was good or bad, but I do know a lot of people did not like it. They did not like his look. In fact, I think the original director did not like the look. Um, but this, unfortunately, Brandon Lee lost his life on this film, but it also, he will forever be remembered as Eric Draven. The torture story would make his career, but he wouldn't be alive to read the reviews. In a freak accident, Lee was shot on set during filming when a prop gun that wasn't meant to be loaded fired a live round into his abdomen. As with his father, rumors of a conspiracy swirled even after officials ruled his death an accident, and the untimely end of a second young Lee led to the story of a Lee family curse. Someone dug up the information that Bruce Lee's older brother had also died under mysterious circumstances before Bruce Lee was born, and with that, rumor became a full-fledged mystery. How did Bruce Lee die? In the end, the simplest explanation seems the most likely. In fact, in the years since, further studies have made connections between his brain swelling, heat stroke, and an overconsumption of water. Lee had several risk factors that could have caused his body to hold on to extra water, including marijuana, opioids, anti-epileptic drugs, diuretics, alcohol, chronic low solute intake, a past history of acute kidney injury, and exercise. But perhaps Lee, ebullient and dramatic, wouldn't mind a little mystery around his last hours, a fitting in for the legend who inspired so many to join the fight. So, guys, what did you think Bruce Lee died from? Like, what theories did you hear? Comment below. I know a lot of people regard him as a legend, but the older I got, um, what was brought to question, and I know I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate, but if you ever search Bruce Lee fighting, like in a real fight, you never, I mean, you do find videos, but they're grainy, right? So you can't tell if it's him or not. So it always comes to, I mean, martial arts in the movie is completely different than an actual martial arts fight. Um, they dramatize in the movies, they make moves more, um, I mean, obviously they got to make it interesting or you won't watch. So they make moves more, they extend moves, they do like more tricks than in an actual street fight. But have you guys ever seen Bruce Lee in an actual fight, like on YouTube? And I know there's videos out there, but they're so grainy that you can't tell who the person is. But as always, guys, stay tuned to this channel for more. I'm probably going to be dropping some more standalone videos throughout the weeks here before the celebration video. So stay tuned to my socials. And as always, I will see you on the next one. Stay spooky and sweet nightmares.